Hello, this is Cindy with Cindy B Designs, and today we're going to be making a great card using the Flower Patch stamp set from Stampin' Up. And I'm going through all those ink colors that we are going to be using. Everything is going to be listed on my blog and YouTube channel. We're going to be doing the Velveteen technique today, and I'm going to be making you two cards. That is stamped with a, in Francais, whatever that's called, background from Stampin' Up. And I'm using Gina K Designs white ink on Stampin' Up cream cardstock. It's not turning out the way that I want it to. Flipped it over. It was already been stamped off, and that's what I wanted. Much, much lighter. So I want that image to show through my flowers. So now I'm inking up in the Gina K Designs white craft ink. I could not find my Stampin' Up pad onto MFT chevron background, and I make sure I covered that good. I have some heavyweight Stampin' Up cardstock and rubbing it on there to get a really good impression. Then I take it off and discover dog hair. That is not coming off with my little paper piercing tool. I flip over the cardstock, try and get out that dog hair wherever it is with my Lawn Fawn chamois that I love. I cannot say enough good things about that. I ink up the stamp set, or clean up my mess, because this is messy. I go ahead and ink up that stamp again. Make sure it's dry with Gina K white craft ink, and I'm going over all of it, even though I only need 4 rows. So I'm putting my paper back on, and I'm going to be grabbing my sheet to rub it over and get a really good impression. And take a look at my hands. They are nasty. That is what I want, and that is where you see the glow. We're going to go back to the very vanilla cardstock while the Whisper White dries. Do not zap it with your heat gun. It will bubble up. So I'm setting everything up in my MISTI once again with that Flower Patch stamp set from Stampin' Up, and I'm taking Peekaboo Peach, inking that big flower up really well, giving it a very good press. Those speedball rollers or a brayer, awesome if you have wrist problems, which I do. Not too sure about that impression, so I'm going to ink it up again. But you can see on the stamp where my background gets onto the stamp. And I didn't ink it up again. This is what happens when you do a voiceover a week later. So now that my white panel is dry, which is the technique, the Velveteen one, and this is what you really want to know about. I'm taking some Sweet Sugar Plum ink by Stampin' Up, and I don't like ink on my MISTI. So I am pressing that down big time to get a good impression. When I open up the door of the MISTI, you are going to see, there you go. See how you can see the chevron? And it transferred over to the stamp too. So every time you do this, even if it's the same color, you want to clean that stamp very well because the chevrons might not line up the right way. So I'm going to do my sentiment, and I started out with a basic gray ink. Since my mat behind it is basic gray, my ink pad is kind of dry. So I go back in for a second time, hoping for the best. And did I get it? No. This is when, okay, that's how you can tell your ink pad's getting low, is when you can see your stamp indented into the ink pad. So I'm going to give this a third try and hope for the best. I like my sentiments to be very crisp and dark. Once again, I have my Lawn Fawn, chamois, making sure it's dry, bringing in my VersaFine, which is my, I love it, go-to sentiment ink. Very crisp, very precise, and check out my sentiment. It's great. So just make sure that you get those stamps clean, you know, in between and before you go ahead and put them away. And I don't know what I'm telling you. Oh, this is where I smear it. The two S's. And I have to turn around and restamp that entire panel because I could not save the smear from archival ink. It's not going to happen. And there you see it. So I took one of those new tonic sand erasers, didn't work. You saw me restamp it, set it aside to dry. Now I'm bringing back in the other card with that very vanilla background and the en français background stamp set, stamped with Gina K Designs ivory ink. And I'm going to be pulling in some Pool Party, taking another image, another flower, stamping it onto my cardstock. And if you look underneath, I have a Stampin' Up piercing mat, which is great for photopolymer stamps. Because you need that cushion. And there we go. You can still see the background, but at least it's not so dark to where it's distracting. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp another couple flowers using Daffodil Delight. This is about a 95% Stampin' Up only card, and I'm alternating my flower stamp to get more of a full flower. And as you can tell, totally into spring colors right now. I'm very over winter or anything to do with it. That right there is why you clean the edge of your stamp. So it does not or not your stamp, but your block. So that way it doesn't transfer to your cardstock. So for my leaves, I'm pulling in some wild wasabi. And this is where you get some really good resist. However, with this panel, I did manage to save it. That really large blob you see on the top right, I just stamped a leaf over it. That little mark underneath it, it's a handmade card. It's going to have to do. And I only have 4 leaves on there. You want to go odd numbers? I am taking the center of the little dots that you can put in the center of the flowers. Once again, I'm using black archival ink, and this is why you don't do voiceovers a week later, because you don't remember everything. And that's what we have so far. I'm going to be bringing back in the real Velveteen. No, I'm not. Now I'm going to be adding the sentiment. And that is going to be in early espresso because my mat to that panel is going to be Early Espresso, and it's going to go on top of a Peekaboo Peach A2 size side folding card, which is 8.5 across by 5.25, 5.5 down, score at 4.25, and the crease is going to be on the left. And look how great that sentiment turned out. Like I said, I like them very deep and rich. So we're going to finish this up. I have some Stampin' Up Jewels Basic Rhinestones. We have the rhinestones and the pearls. I'm just putting them in the center of the flowers. The large flower has the larger size, while the other ones have the smaller size. There's my cardstock, or the base of my card. I have some brown fun foam under there for dimension. I'm going to turn it to the side, and you don't see any of that ugly white, and it's perfect. I love it. I'm going to take my adhesive now and go ahead and put my top image panel on. And there we go. I like to turn it over to press everything down just in case some ink is still wet. And we're done with that card. Now, the Velveteen technique. This is where this card comes in. This is Flirty Flamingo. I have the basic gray. I already have black fun foam on the back of that. And I'm going to adhere it to my card. Total fail. This is where I grab my Cricut spatula and lift that panel up and fixed it. Now I love that white craft ink on the white cardstock. I didn't do anything else but stamp. That's it. And it's very cool. Shows through. The sentiment, though, oddly enough, comes out very, very rich in color and very bright. This is where I discovered that my basic gray archival ink kind of went dry on me. So I try a few more times and then end up bringing in my VersaFine black onyx pad, which is really my go-to for sentiments. And there we go. So I figure I'll go ahead and stamp that twice to get a really good impression. Once again, using my roller, and voila. Keeping your tools clean, super important. You're seeing the issues that I'm having by not keeping them clean. Taking that flower once again, the largest one, that's going to be stamped in Flirty Flamingo, and then check it out when I pull the image up. See how you can see the chevron on the stamp? That is the technique, and it's very cool. Keep your stamps dry after cleaning them. Now, this is what you really want to watch. And I don't like ink on my mist either. Okay, good press. Oh, I got ahead of myself there. There you go. See that? That's the Velveteen technique. Once again, I'm bringing back in the pool party because I did use the same color of ink on both of my cards. And I love that leaf because that chevron just jumps out. And I did nothing but stamp that leaf in wild wasabi. No other techniques, anything like that. So I'm bringing back in the pool party, and I'm going to stamp those other two flowers like I did on the other card. But this is where, once again, that technique just really jumps out at you. So I'm going to do one down there in the bottom right, and then one pretty much towards the top of the left. It's okay to stamp off, but don't forget to clean those stamps every time, because your chevrons patterns are going to be going different ways. So this ink pad too is dry, and I'm picking up my ink from the edges, because we all have a tendency to stamp in the middle or pull our ink from the middle. So once again, another good press. And there you go. That is so cool. And in person, it looks great. Same flower as on the previous card, the Daffodil Delight. I really need to ink up my ink pads, and I'm just going to rotate the stamps. And keep cleaning in between every single one of them and drying them off. This time I learned my lesson, wipe out the side of the block. But you can see that chevron, I mean, even just jumping out at you as I'm stamping this. And there's a little bit of resist going on, even though I did not, whoops, sorry, I forgot to turn off the ringer. Even though I didn't do any kind of embossing or like a heat resist technique, I'm grabbing my VersaFine again, and I'm stamping the center of those flowers in black onyx. And I'll be doing the same thing with the other card by grabbing my rhinestones and popping them in the middle. Isn't that pretty? Any kind of strays I'm finding, dog hair, whatever, I just take a dry paintbrush and wipe it off. And I actually did not go in and do more leaves. I just did those two because I was very happy about how it turned out. So thank you for joining me today. I hope that you learned a little something. Left side, not the results I want, but the right side with the chevron and the white craft ink, that is the true Velveteen technique, where you can see your pattern through your images, but you still have that clear pattern. So you can find me at cindybdesigns.com, and thank you so much for watching.